What's up, everybody? How we doing today? Man, that felt good. I miss doing that. Tonight we are doing a part 2 of sorts with my brother here, Tanner, from Paranormal Podcast Help Desk, right?
You got it.
Did I get it right this
You
time?
got it, yeah.
I'm writing that down. That's going in the journal. I never get names right. But yeah, we're doing a part 2 with my brother here, Tanner. Because I'm just telling him backstage, I feel bad because, EMF is all about, your passions, your hobbies, what makes you you, not just paranormal based, because obviously we all have that common denominator, common, interest, but there's more to us than just the paranormal. And that's what the show's about. So I want to do a part 2 with my brother here. And before we really get into this, I wanted to ask you, you're a podcaster, obviously, you're a host, you've been on a lot of shows, you do great with what you do. Have you ever looked at your intro and went, shit, I need to change that?
Yes.
I just did that. After all the EMFs I've done, I realized I have my old logo on there. I never noticed it because I'm usually... I don't know if you do this or if any other host out there does this, but when the intro's playing, you get used to it. So you're tweaking everything, you're checking, making sure everything looks good, sounds good. You've got everything you need, and you don't pay attention to the video until the very end.
Yep.
Yeah, it just hit me. I was like, shit, I need to change that. But
yeah, no, I've been doing that for weeks. So since I changed over from Ghost Hunter Advice to the Paranormal Podcaster Help Desk, and I split that off at its own show, I'm like, I really need to make an intro and make some actual collateral for the show for scenery and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I know he's probably lurking somewhere. Raymond actually did the video. I added the music and stuff, but Raymond did the video for the intro. But sorry, brother, I need to tweak it. I need to tweak it.
It's a good video.
It is. It really is, and it really helped me out. He offered, and I was like, yeah, see, sure, send me over what you got. And excuse me, it's a great video, love it. But sorry, time to adjust. So for those of you, that just went right up my nose. For those of you who either saw the show last week or have seen Tanner before, you know he's into the paranormal, obviously. Great investigator. But there's more to you. We know you're a writer. We know a bunch of different things. And obviously right below you is a list, just a small list of what you do. Let's first jump into this with the writing side of it. Something that you and I have discussed personally, not off camera, but off air. I'm not a book guy. Unless it's a pop-up or coloring book, not interested. I'm writing my own book. Don't know why, but I am. It's very slow process. Get off me if you've been watching. Yes,
takes
it's
a
been
while.
almost a year. Yes, it's almost been a year, and I got the table of contents and some of my introduction done, but but what started that for you? What was the whole premise for you wanting to become a writer?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so that goes back to when I was in school. I was actually telling my son about a story that I wrote when I was a little older than him. So I started writing stories in like second grade.
Mhm.
I wrote this series of short stories. The teachers would put it up on the hall outside so the kids could read it, and apparently people at the school enjoyed it.
Hmm.
It was, kind of spooky, kind of horror fantasy type. And I really enjoyed that. I wrote all the way through school. I took every creative writing course I could going through high school.
Mhm.
When I got to college, I took creative writing. I took extra literature classes. I took extra English courses because I knew at some point that I wanted to be a writer. Back then, so I got out of school 2004, 2008. Back then, the traditional track was all there was.
Mhm.
And so like you usually around age 30, 40, 50, somewhere in there, got the life experience, were able to write a book. You spent 5, 6 years after writing the book querying agents. If you're lucky, you get an agent, and then you get a book deal with a larger publisher.
Yeah.
The technology changed. Amazon was a big part of that with their KDP program. And I started meeting more writers and more people who were actually out there doing what I wanted to do. And I was working as a private investigator. In college, I wrote mysteries, I wrote crime fiction, some horror stuff. And I thought, you know what, my degree is in criminal justice because that's what you do. You go to school, you get a degree that you can use, you get out in the real world, and if you want to do art, it's something you might do on the side. But the people who become writers go to school, they graduate with English degrees, they're broke until they make it or they don't. Um, and that's not the way that it works. I'm not sure that's the way that it actually worked back then, but it's definitely not the way that it works today.
Yeah.
So I took a break and I ran my business. I always said that when I was done being a private investigator, that I would be an author and that I would take it seriously and I would get back into it.
Hmm.
Now I wrote on and off, and I took like writers retreats and things throughout the years so that I didn't totally lose it, because you do lose it if you don't use it. Yeah. So
Yeah, I've
mhm.
lost a lot. Anybody who's watched my show more than once knows, yeah, I've lost a couple of things.
Yeah, it happens. But 2020, the pandemic happened, everything shut down, the court shut down. My business got really, really slow. Other agencies that I subcontracted out to got really slow. And suddenly I had all of this time, and I didn't have to go into work. There wasn't any work to do, and I got online. I started taking courses again in writing.
Hmm.
And when I started taking those courses, I started meeting these people that published through KDP, that published wide, that were their own publishers. They ran their own publishing houses. Some of them got traditional contracts and did both. They self-published some stuff, got traditional contracts for others. And I was like, so you're doing this as your career? Like, this is your day job? And I started learning more about that. I got really serious. I sat down and wrote my first actual novel, full-length finished novel.
Hmm.
Started a podcast about it, which is now Killer Pros Podcast. I just wanted to document what was going on, document the journey, so that other people could learn about, hey, you can actually do this. And like, if I do make it, I can look back and be like, hey, it wasn't an overnight success, because what I learned was that first you have to learn how to write a book, and you have to write a couple books to learn how to write a book, because there's some stuff when you're gonna suck.
Yep.
So yeah. So I wrote my really bad books, then they started getting better. I started getting more feedback. I started interviewing authors through my show, and interviewing industry professionals through my show, and I built relationships. I got fantastic mentorship from some fantastic, best-selling, great authors. And I got my crap together and started really writing toward, I'm going to make commercial fiction my day job and my career. I'm going to make content creation, and I'm going to build a business around this. And there's a couple models, and I started studying them, and I found what I wanted to do, which is publishing books, publishing between 3 and 4 books a year, so that
Hmm.
I have the bulk of my income coming in from my books, and then teaching creative writing and publishing. So an entire business built around that, along with podcasting and audio, because that ties into the books and the content. Because now there's more ways than just binding together paper or putting together files and putting out ebooks to get your content out. So there's there's audio. I'm going to sell video rights if that pops up and that's an option for me.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely I'm producing my own audio. I'm doing my own books. And every once in a while, when I write a standalone mystery or something, and I say, okay, so this has mass market appeal, I'm not going to my, I call them screwball mysteries niche. It's a wider, more traditional mystery. I'll shop that because I now, because of my podcast, have ins with traditional publishing houses who are interested in the work.
Fair enough. And
Mhm.
you said something that we spoke about last week, I believe it was, on our last show, and it's amazing how this word ties into literally everything, whether it's paranormal, podcasting, writing, career, anything, and that's networking.
Mhm.
It's amazing, these people, like, that's why I hate these people that say they're self-made millionaire. You're not.
Yep.
You are not. You have to be able to network. You have to be able to build that relationship, whether it's with the audience, whether it's with consumers, whatever, investors. You have to network. You have to build that relationship, which is amazing to me. All the drama and negativity, not just in the paranormal, but all over the place.
Mhm.
All these people are at each other's throats, and it's like, do you realize how successful you'd be if you'd work together?
Yeah, and it shows. There's a list. Like, so I'm also looking at publishing other people through. I'm doing an audio fiction podcast. I'll be doing some of my own stories and stuff through there, but I'm also
Hmm.
looking at other writers. And inside of these forums and writing groups and critique groups that I'm a part of, there are people that pop up and they're just so awful to be around and so negative that I have a list and I'm like, I want to make sure that I don't do any projects with this person. I'm not going to work with that person.
I
Um,
I do it too in our field, like, and we spoke about this. We spoke about this on podcasting. The host that interacts with the audience, the one
mhm,
that really is upbeat, having fun, relaxed, and like, mm, I would say almost all of our hosts on Parapost Network. If you're not interacting, if you're not positive, why are you even doing it?
mhm.
And it's not just with your audience, because if you can't do it with your audience, how can you be able to do it with a group of people, a network? You want to grow, you want to build, and everything else. So why are you so closed? And
Mhm.
it's so fascinating. And I wanted to point that out, because I know we all talk about, I want to network, I want to do this, I want to do that, but you don't take the steps to actually properly do it. And it's not just, again, in paranormal or podcast, it's everything. It's
Yeah.
everything in life.
And it depends on what you want too. Like
Yeah.
I want to do this at a professional level. I want to get better. So if I want to get better, I have to be around people who are better than me
Hmm.
at doing something. I have to be a type of person that they want to be around. So they have to be getting some sort of value from me from a relational standpoint, not talking about money or anything, though
Yeah.
sometimes that's part of it. Paid mentorship, that is a thing.
Yeah.
I've done it. I'm looking at doing it soon again. But there's this rule, like you are the sum of the five people that you hang out with, the five people that you're around the most.
Oh, I'm screwed.
So you guard that, and you're always looking to level up. And as you grow as a person, as you grow as a creator, as you grow as a professional, you notice that you kind of move away from certain people, and as you're
Yep.
moving up the ranks, those five people tend to level up around you. And that sounds cold. It's really not. It's just like part of the process because you're in these different rooms.
Yeah.
So doing this and making content specifically with podcasts, I've been able to reach out to people who are they're best sellers, they're international best sellers, and I had a platform to be able to talk to them and became friends, became friendly, or at least acquaintances where we like to see each other succeed.
Yep.
And I've been able to get a lot of help moving forward that way. And if I didn't open up and have those conversations and not look at it as a way of like, what can I get from this person, but come first with what can I give this person? This is how many listeners I have. Let's get together and just have fun and just geek out about this thing. And we'll see if it can sell a couple of books for you. And then we're friends.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
uh,
that's how it was for me. When I first started out, and I've said this on my show, well, all my shows, numerous times. I don't really hang out with a lot of people here in Pennsylvania, like close
mhm,
by. There's maybe a couple, like, not. And I know if you're watching it, I'm not talking about you, Fedora. I'm getting to you. But like in my local area, it's usually the Wicked Queen, maybe one or two people, maybe, and that's it. And that's few and far between and outside of work. But once I started in the paranormal, you're absolutely right. That's when things really started taking off, and I started meeting the group, which again, Fedora was the start of this. So if you guys hate this content, blame him. Um, but I met him, Scott Martin. I met him, and things just took off. And I've made some great friends, and some of us went separate ways.
Mhm.
And you know what? That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. It's just like a filter. You're just filtering things out till you find something that works for you. Um, but one question I did want to ask you, and I don't know why it's taking me so long to ask you this, but did your writing influence you to becoming a PI, or was it the want to be a PI that influenced your writing?
That's hard. I'm not sure. It's kinda like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Pretty much.
I was always into both. Like, I was running around playing FBI, playing investigator, playing ghost hunter when I was, like, 5, and
Yeah.
I was also sitting down and writing all these stories and stuff because that play just kinda went together.
Mm,
I always enjoyed detective stories. I grew up reading Sherlock Holmes.
who didn't?
Um, yeah, I knew that I wanted to be a part of that world, and to stay connected to it. I think that probably had a little bit to do with why I became an investigator. Some of the rougher parts of my childhood were definitely, I'm not going to get into detail on that, but
Mm.
it's why I became an investigator who specialized in, child welfare and child custody in those types of cases. But yeah, it's
No.
they fed each other.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just curious about that. No, why not? And just blatant curiosity here. Why not just go law enforcement? I know a lot of people either went who have that thing. Oh, that. Yeah, that
Money,
makes sense.
money.
That makes sense.
There was 2 reasons. The money was one. In the private sector, especially at the time that I was getting into it, you might have made 38,000 starting out as a police officer having to go into these horrible situations, or you could make starting out 50 to 60K as an investigator and going up into 6 figures,
Fair
pretty
enough.
quicker. Also, I could pick and choose my cases. That was the big thing is I could pick cases that interested me,
Mm,
and I didn't have to really follow orders. Like, at the end of the day, I was my own boss, and I really liked that. I grew up my parents owned a business, so I always grew up in a household that, you go out, you kill something, you drag it back to the cave. I've never been the have a salary, sit down, and just do what I'm told guy. I think I can make this process better.
mhm.
Let me find my own way with it. And then that has been tempered over time of getting my ass kicked doing that into let's lean on some other professionals that have done what I'm trying to do and find a way to innovate it and make it my own. And that's when I really started mentoring. And that's when I stopped being the classic TV broke PI and actually started building a business and becoming an industry thought leader and building stuff out in the PI world and then moving over into writing.
I know exactly what you mean.
Mhm.
That is 100% how I grew up. Mr. Independent, I got this. I'll run through and just tear everything down. I get to. Military humbled the hell out of me. And I know what you mean about the following orders. I mean, obviously, with the military, you don't have a choice. They tell
Mhm.
you, you've got to do it. And you did, even with back then, like, I am so different than what I was in high school, but I'm also different than what I was in the military. And I've taken, ever since I got out, take both of that and tweaked it. And now you get whatever this is. But, but no, that's awesome. And then, yeah, I was just curious about that because I know you always talk about your PI experience and your horror, drama, crime stuff, and it's like I wonder where was that connection. Um,
I
now,
was always
what?
interested in the subject. So, like,
Fair
moving
enough.
into writing, and you write what you know. So, like, I know mysteries. I know the how it works in the real world.
Mm,
And then as I learned more about writing and more about creating fiction, I was able to take those real world situations and pump the drama up, to make it. You just spend belief a little bit when you're reading fiction.
yeah.
And I was able to pick those things like where does reality, um okay, when is bending the rules more entertaining than what would really happen, and when is what would really happen more entertaining than bending the rules, and you blend that together into the fiction.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, you, and again, folks, if you haven't seen, Tanner does a writing show, basically a writing podcast, and it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's very entertaining. And you do a great job. You really
Thanks.
do. Again, I'm not a book type of guy, but I'll sit there and I'll listen. I'll listen to whatever you're doing and chill out. You're one of those podcasters to where I could just listen to.
I
Just
appreciate
throwing,
that, man.
like, going down to New Orleans, you're just like, okay, I got 14 and a half hour drive. All right, let's throw Tanner on. Ooh, that'd be an idea. I'm gonna annoy the Wicked Queen doing that next big
No,
road
I've
trip.
got a couple of podcasters that like your voice. You have a great podcasting voice, and I pop you on in the car sometimes when I'm driving around. And then like there's a couple of other podcasters that I just like their voice and having them around when I'm doing stuff. So it goes. But
I don't know whether you just said I have a face for radio or not, but I'll take it as a compliment. No, actually, I think we can all attest to this. Well, we hate our own voices.
Mhm.
Yo, I am the biggest one. Doing EM or EVP sessions, listening back. I will have the Wicked Queen listen because I hate my voice. I don't know how y'all listen to me. but no, it's that's really cool. Now, what got you into the podcasting? Because obviously writing, we all know writing is usually a solo act type deal. You just sit down, you sit there with your coffee, wine, whatever you do, and you just go. Muse just hits you and you're just gone.
Yep.
What got you into the podcasting side of it though?
So with podcasting, that came from the PI stuff. I listened to industry podcasts, and there was kind of a hole in the industry as far as there's these different skill levels and these different jumps that you take throughout your career. Like you suck for about a year. Then you get enough casework under your belt, especially for surveillance and field work. And then there's like this jump, but there's a bit of a lag between year 1, year 2, when people are starting to switch and you're starting to specialize. So that's about the time where like between years 2 and 5, you're really finding what you specialize in. And there were a lot of high level PI shows and a lot of things talking about like the Pinkerton guys and talking about some of the larger cases. But there wasn't really an everyday show for investigators who weren't just starting out, but we're kind of in that middle of figuring out, am I going to be an agency owner? Do I want to go with a bigger agency and move up through the ranks? Do I want to specialize in child crimes? Do I want to specialize in surveillance? Do I want to specialize in due diligence, corporate investigation? There's thousands of things you can do as an investigator. So I wanted to give back. And I had several conversations and mentored some investigators. At the time, I had been over a 40 investigator team for a local agency. I was operations manager there. I was over the special investigations unit for one very large agency in the state of Tennessee, and doing mostly fraud work. And thought, I have enough experience now that I can give back. And so I just put it out there. I started talking about the industry. I started teaching, basically like this is your mentor in a box. And I think the first episode I did was on my phone sitting on surveillance. And I wanted something that other guys could listen to when they were sitting in the car on surveillance trying to stay awake. It's audio, so they're still able to see what they're doing. They're able to operate the camera equipment, whatever their setup is. And I talked about equipment, and I talked about things that people don't talk about. Because if you're doing domestic surveillance, what's the best camera to get? There's nothing out there that tells you what's the best surveillance camera, because everybody holds everything so close to the chest.
Yeah.
So I started talking about this. Oh God, what was it? The Sony, it was like AX53 or something. It's a prosumer grade camcorder. I started talking about how to use the infrared streamlights and how to set it up so you can get a license plate up to a quarter mile away with that thing because it was 4K.
Jesus.
I showed people how to set up their cars for surveillance to make sure that, they're getting done what they need to get done, how to run counter surveillance. And I started getting into the things that people weren't talking about in when it comes to skill, when it comes to the business. I got into marketing. I got into how do you talk to attorneys? And this is where I started drifting over into sales. I started doing these things on how to sell your business. We're investigators. We're also business owners and professionals. We have to be able to sell ourselves. And it seems gross when we're coming out of that mindset of I'm an investigator to I'm a business owner and I need to get clients. So like talking about how great you are feels kind of slimy, but at the same time, you're really good at what you do. Those people need to hear about it and they have a problem that you can solve. Honestly, with the skill level of a lot of investigators, you're probably the only one there that's going to solve it. So you should get that case and get that money. So I started teaching sales. And that's how I got into podcasting. I got a lot of feedback from that. That opened a ton of doors. I became an industry thought leader. I started writing for the PI magazines. That got me back into writing, and I was like, oh man, I really love this. And that's what started all of the content creation for me, because that piece of that podcast that I started just to give back became a very powerful marketing arm. And that brought in at least, and I'm not saying this is all, this is at least $20,000 a year for me in extra revenue to my business, because people were listening to it all over the world and were calling me for cases, for calling me for consulting, calling me for different things, and all kinds of different stuff, from surveillance and covert investigators to setting up their business, to learning different skills that they need because they're running their own business now, as far as investigations. And it opened up, and that's what got me into, oh, cool, content creation. Oh, cool. Well, now I'm writing again. I'm writing for a magazine, more content. This is working really well for my business. Let me see if I can do it for other people's businesses. And that launched me into what I do now.
That's awesome. And I feel like you and I are on the same page with this. Sorry, guys, the arm on my chair keeps falling off. I don't know why, but it's just having a temper tantrum today.
I took mine off. There's no arm here anymore.
Well, that's why I have my desk. I have one of those L-shaped desks, and that's what this one is. But I have the other one on my other arm, on the armrest. But every time I set it down, it's just anyway. But no, that's one thing that I think you and I really click with, and I think that's something that when we started this friendship, it really matched up with us, is the consultant part of it. You and I have the same goal, to help people, whether it's paranormal, podcast, and whatever. And that's one thing I love about you, because it seems like that is your main motivation. You could care less about everything else, but as long as you're helping, that's seems to be the drive for you. And that's really awesome, whether it's the writing part of it, the PI side of it, the podcasting, whatever it is. And that's something that I think a lot of people forget about too. And we've spoken about these show hosts, the podcasters, they forget about a couple of little things, but that's the one thing I think a lot of people forget, is we're all consultants. We're all here to help. We're all here to help everybody, whether it's even just to brighten your day. Like I say stupid crap all the time. Y'all know this, but if you have a terrible day, but you go home and I listened to the consultant today, and he said that one thing that just made me laugh. He's an idiot, but it made me laugh. When I'll love it. And that's how I am in real life too. And I think you're the same way, Tanner. You're maybe not the stupid part of it, but if somebody would go home and say, you know what, my day sucked, but Tanner told me this, I really took that to heart. It made me feel better. To you, that's worth it. No, there's no monetary side of it.
No, there's that's worth more than the money. Like knowing that I made a difference in somebody's life or business, that was like the biggest payday from that podcast that I got. Doing the stuff that I do now with writing, with Killer Pros podcast, the emails that I get in, because it's a podcast. I'm not live streaming with it. I do live stream early mornings. And this is another thing about writing books, is I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, pounding coffee to be at my desk at about 5 o'clock to 5:30 to do my morning live streams of my writing sessions, so that I get other authors involved and on board and writing. But most of my podcast is I meet with an editor, I meet with an author, and they're all people who are doing well inside of the genres. And we have a conversation for 45 minutes to an hour, and I record that, and then I go back over it and I do all the editing and stuff, and then I put it out. So the feedback that I get from people a lot of times is emails. So I'll sit down at my desk or with a chime on my phone, and I'll look down, and I get a few of these a week where it's just like, hey, thank you so much for that podcast. It was a huge help. I had an author who was on my bestseller. Fantastic. I have looked up to this person for a long time and read all of their books. I told them about a system that I use for editing that cuts out a lot of my editing time for like repetitive words and for going through and doing structural, like big developmental things before I send it off to an actual editor. And I got a text from her, and she's like, "This is fucking fantastic. Thank you so much for telling me about this." I was like, yes.
Well, I know you motivated me. You were the main motivation for me to start my book. And you said
Awesome.
something in not just a podcast I've heard, but you've told me personally, write something you're passionate about, something something that is going to be, especially starting out, something
Mhm.
easy for you that just clicks. And that's where my book comes in. It's basically a paranormal how-to. It's a consultant book. And mind you, I just started the intro, but I did try that. I tried what you suggested is early morning. And I told you I would wanted to do it, after work, because usually the house is pretty quiet. Everybody's just doing their own thing, or they're at work or whatever, working third shift or overnights. A lot of fun. Uh, and I tried that. I could have had a 5-gallon bucket underneath my desk. I would have filled that damn thing with drool.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
the first day I have, like, for those of you who have seen the show before, I drink these guys, not sponsored, but it's Mountain Dew Amp. It's my energy drink, or as people at work call it, my blood. It actually is in my bloodstream, but that'll be for another show. I sat down here with like an amp or two, just ready to go, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do what Tanner suggested. I'm gonna sit down, discipline myself, and start writing. Got down, hands on the keyboard, and went, fuck.
Mhm.
And the one thing I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but you said this on one of your writing shows. One of the most important things is do not force the writing. Just
Yes.
let it happen. And that, to me, I think is why I'm procrastinating. But at the same time, it's good, because I know whenever I do finish this book, it'll be good. It'll be something I'm proud of and everything like that. It might be a couple of years, but it'll get done. But no, that's really cool. And again, networking,
Mhm.
listening to these shows, taking advice from people. Um, even like John Azuna, not to call him out. Great freaking guy. He is a great actor. He is funny, so down to earth. I learned a lot from him just by being in front of the camera. You can see the mannerisms, you can see the way he acts on camera when he's doing filming, but you can also see how he is here on these shows. Even Brian, Mister,
Mhm.
you can see a huge difference. I'm not calling you out, Brian, but like, I've seen some of his clips, and we've all seen some of his clips. From how he acts, it's exactly that. He's acting.
Mhm.
But as soon as the camera comes on or you're live, it's a switch. Me, I'm just like, screw it. Y'all like this content? You like this content? I don't care.
Well, no,
I'm
that's
good.
why I teach 10-minute sprints. So like there's a thing that we do in writing, and I'm gonna pull this up just real quick to show you.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a couple of different techniques when people are starting out, like where you're at with your book. All right, share screen. This is a timer that I use, and this is there it is. The V clock. It just I set it for 10 minutes. When we get started in the mornings, I go 3, 2, 1, go. And what I
Mhm.
generally tell people is when that countdown happens and it's go time,
Mhm.
all cell phones are turned off. All other screens are turned off. The only thing that's going is the timer and that blank page in front of you. You might get 2 words on that first 2 minutes. You might get no words, but we're going to keep doing those over and over again. And I try to do 30 minutes to an hour in the mornings for folks. And your brain gets bored, and it has to be entertained. So your mind is going to start wondering, and you're going to learn how to rope that wondering, the imagination and your muse, quote unquote
Mhm.
muse.
Mhm.
You're going to learn how to rope that into your story so that when it goes 3, 2, 1, and the timer starts, you might have a little bit of a lag, but it's go time. Just like when the camera starts for Brian, just like when the stream starts for you here. The goal is to train your muse to start and stop when you need it to, so you can get those words done, so you can get paid. Because this is something that it's wonderful to do for a hobby. It's wonderful to create, but we're
Yeah.
talking about 3, 2, 1. This is your job. Get to work.
Yeah. No, 100%. And
Um,
I know exactly what you're doing. Wow, that hit harder than I wanted it to. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just like with these shows, when talking about podcasting, when we're backstage, relaxed, chill, hang out, have fun, and then once that go live button is hit, especially like here on StreamYard, once you hit go live, it's game time.
Mhm.
I mean, granted, like I said, anybody who's met me will tell you I act exactly the same. I don't do anything different, but I'm mentally preparing myself. I don't have a script or anything like that, but I'm mentally preparing myself. I've gotta put aside everything that's been going on in my personal life, and it's just let's go.
Mhm.
I'm here to have fun. I'm here to hang out with, my brother here, or no matter who the guest is. I'm here to hang out, have some fun, get a couple of cheap laughs for you guys, and just we're all just going to enjoy ourselves. Nothing else in this world matters. And, that's really cool that you think of it that way with even the writing. You get yourself that 10 minutes or the half hour, and, you know, I don't know whether it's my ADHD brain or what, but I have a feeling if I even tried the timer, like, because I have two screens,
Mhm.
but if I put a timer up, I will stare at the timer for 10 minutes and just, oh, it's 9 minutes. 5 minutes later, oh, look, something's shiny, and off I go.
So it's so weird how it presents. So like with you, it's like distracted, stare at timer, drool. For me,
Mhm.
like ADHD brain, but it presents at a high level like performance. I was an athlete in high school. Like we get out, I was a football player. We get out on the field like that clock starts going. So does your ass. You're out there
Yep.
and you are getting it. And doing drama, I was drama club. I was athlete and drama geek. You get
Nice.
on stage and it's like, all right, curtain's about to go, 3, 2, all right, and then just you were right into it. And I just got used to performing that way. Even as a private investigator, when I was out in a car, there'd be nothing going on for hours, and suddenly my target or my subject would run outside, jump in the car, and take off, and I have to follow him. It's go time. You have to go from 0 to 100% focused and performing in a second. And for writing and creating, it takes a while to get there. Like I've been doing this for 5 years now, writing to a clock and writing and finishing projects. Before that, I was a mess. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the tools to do it, like the mental tools, the skill level, the skills that I learned from all these people and these courses that I've taken. But yeah, it's
Yeah, no,
muscle.
I know exactly. I was in sports too. I did sports in high school, baseball, bowling, cross country,
Nice.
especially.
Mhm.
People think that cross country is easy. That is, believe it or not, for those of you who don't know, cross country is more mental than it is physical.
Yep.
Once you get into a strive and you start running, and I know Tanner, you've done a lot of triathlons, you've done a lot of big events. Um, Once you get into that rhythm, your body basically, you don't even think about your body.
Mhm.
It's just brain. It's a mental game. You're playing it
You
against
try not
yourself.
to think about your body.
Well,
Your body wants you to think about it. You have to
you
really
can't.
try not to.
I have a saying in fishing: once it goes numb, it's no worries. You don't
Mhm.
have anything to worry about. And that was kind of the same way. Same way with me cross country, or baseball. If I'm on the mound, nothing else matters. As soon as I step on that field, that's what I care about.
Mhm.
Um, Cross country, same way. Bowling, nothing else mattered. When I got up, had my ball in my hand, and I'm on that lane, everything blacked out. And I still do those same tricks, believe it or not, even to this day with my job. Before I go to work, well, I go to work. I have my own little routine. I have to go. I got to go pick up my energy drinks. Um, but I'll show up a half hour early, and I will sit out there and I'll watch TikTok, look at Facebook, and just mentally prepare myself.
Mhm.
And I do the same thing at the end of the day when I get home. I'll sit in the driveway for 5, 10 minutes, no matter how tired I am. And I'm just unwinding. Forget about everything. Forget about whatever happened at work. It doesn't matter. I'm home, and vice versa. Um, but and I think it's the same way too with the podcasting. I think some of us are guilty of it. Before our guests come up, or co-hosts come up, we just sit backstage and we just, okay, what am I going to do? You come up with the game plan. You isolate everything that goes on in the outside. Nothing else matters but here.
Mhm.
And I I've got to find my little niche to get that with my writing. I think that's what it is. I'm looking at it as it's an activity. The writing is more activity side of it. It's more
Mhm.
fun. It's more relaxed. But I have to be more disciplined with it. But my brain's just not comprehending that.
Oh, you said something super important there. So I talked to
Yeah.
Andrew Nygaard. He's the author of the Mobius Door best-selling. Mobius Door was a best-selling book on Amazon, and so is Gold Talk, which is actually an indie horror brawl. He's a college professor here locally at UTC, and we got to talking about writing, and life got really hard for him this past year. He had a lot of stuff going on with his family. He's taken on more responsibilities at the university, and he still pushed out like 3 books. And he started talking. He's like, that's why we call writing a discipline, because it takes discipline to sit down and do it. Because you have to think, like, you can't be living in just today. You have to think, I have these books coming out. I have titles ready to roll out till 2025. But there has to be stuff that comes out after 2025 to stay level and to stay stable, because it is a career. It does become, if writing is a discipline for you and it is something that you're making a career out of, you have to treat it like a job. You have to sit down on the days that you don't feel like doing it. If I am sick, if I am hurt, if I don't feel like writing that day, my goal is 500 words. If I can push 500 words forward, I'm going to stay on track with my publishing goals.
Yeah.
I have a project management system that has the books. I almost said the name of it. I've got a book that's coming out. It's in editing right now, and that's what I'm working on during my sprints in the morning. Book 2 of that series and book 3 of that series are coming out, and those are the title releases through the end of 2025. Well, I've got to make sure that I have 2026 and 2027 going, because by then I want 3 to 4 titles a year coming out, 2026, 2027, to build up to 20 books as quickly as possible. Because as an independent author, I know to make 50K, my best chance at making 50K is to get 20 books out as quickly as possible.
Oh, wow.
50K is to get 20 books out as fast as possible.
Holy crap.
Good books, not shit. Like good books.
Not my books. Got it.
No, you're just going to be great, man.
Well, we've already gone over the half-hour mark already. And see, that's what I love about these shows. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. We got, obviously, a video for the Global Ghost Hunt featuring the 2 lovely investigators from the Ghoul Gang. They are a lot of fun to watch and listen to. You guys have got to watch them. You have to. And of course, our sponsor, Health Empowers You. So we'll be right back, guys, after this quick commercial break.
Hey there, fellow spooky enthusiasts. It's me, Rosie.
And I'm Emma.
And together we are
The Ghoul Gang.
We're thrilled to be the new UK brand ambassadors for this year's Global Ghost Hunt Fall event.
So make sure you mark it in your calendars ready.
From October the 17th through to the 27th, we'll be bringing you a hauntingly good time.
Teams from different countries showcasing their incredible historical locations and unique investigative techniques.
We're hoping to see some familiar faces.
So come on, join us on this thrilling journey, October 17th to 27th.
We'll be live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and Twitch.
You do not want to miss out on this ghostly fun.
We'll see you there.
Welcome back, everybody. You just saw two amazing videos. And obviously, I want to give my huge shout outs and my special thanks to our sponsors, Health Empowers You. Tanner, you're a health nut, unlike me. But hey, I didn't get this with a salad, brother. But I'll tell you what, in all honesty, Health Empowers You, what they're offering, you know as well as I do, cookbooks are expensive. A lot of recipe books are expensive. Health Empowers You. You can get over 200 healthy smoothie recipes for less than $10.
Mm-hmm.
And you use the code PC05, you can get a better discount. And to be honest with you folks, we've talked about it a little bit before, but they are going to be launching teas, coffees very, very soon. And with this, you can get different like detox teas, you can get weight loss, you can get cognitive boost. Mm-hmm. And sleep teas. Who doesn't need some more sleep? And so all you have to do is head over to healthempowersyou.net, check it out, sign up, get ready because it's coming. It is coming, and it's going to be at an amazing price. You guys do not want to miss it. And I live bought the smoothie recipes, the PDF for that. Love it. Absolutely love it. I drink my energy drinks, I drink my sodas, but I'm trying to slowly start taking better care of myself. And I'll tell you what, Health Empowers You is the way to do it. These recipes are really good. Really, really good. And again, guys, use PC05 for even a better discount. You get a little bit extra on top of it. It's like the icing on the cake. Oh, I got to stop talking about food. But check it out. Show some love. Show some support, not just for them, but for yourself. And also the Global Ghost Hunt. You saw Rosie and Emma from the Ghoul Gang. I'll tell you what, those two ladies are infectious. I love watching them. I love listening to them. And if you guys want to be a part of the fun, serious fun, go check out globalghosthunt.com. Sign up today. If you're a team, you have a location, sign up. If you're a location, you don't have a team, sign up. If you're a team that doesn't have a location, you know what I'm going to say, sign up anyway. It is coming very, very quickly. October 17th to the 27th. You'll see yours truly. You'll see the consultant. We're going back. We're going to do some things. The Wicked Queen and I will be out. She might hit me. Even more reason to subscribe, watch, follow along on all social media. You never know what's going to happen. It's real investigations too. I know, Tanner, you've been a part of the Global Ghost Hunt. You've also seen a lot of it. It's real investigations. Nothing is staged. Absolutely nothing is staged. Most of it is live. And what I mean is the event itself is live, but we do have some recorded ones. So go check it out, guys. Sign up today. Also get your merch. And also huge shout out to our family over at Parapost Network. You can see my show. You can see Tanner's show or shows. And you can see a variety of different podcasts out there. And they're good. Really good podcast. Great people. I love my Parapost family. There's always something new. Always something new to be checking out, and you'll always have a good time. Always have a good time on Parapost Network. But today we are here checking out and listening to Tanner, my brother. We talked about his writing. We talked about a podcast. We're going to switch some gears here, and we're going to have some fun with this to the coach side.
Yeah.
Because I know some people might be like me and think coach, like sports, baseball. But before we get into that explanation, I think Joanne has because definitely not me, has a special message for you there, brother.
I think that's you, bro.
Hey, no. On two levels.
Hello, Joanne.
Oh, I love Joanne. I love our audience. And of course, speaking of Global Ghost Hunt, a team you have got to check out.
Cool. I've seen some of their stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Vicky and her team do an amazing job. I have to give her a shout out and give her team a shout out because I've seen a lot of investigations in the 20 years I've been doing this. I've been a part of a lot of investigations. They've done something that I've only seen TV productions do. They actually had one person dedicated to the camera, and they split their team up into groups. And they had the camera person check in with one group, spent about 5-10 minutes with that group, went over to the next group, and they continued that cycle so you can see what everybody's doing. And
good use of resources.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, nothing against the other teams, because I'll tell you what, if you've been a part of the Global Ghost Hunt, you're doing an absolutely great job. I loved every single one of the investigations. All been a lot of fun. That one was the most informative. That was the most complete investigation I've ever seen. And it's because they took that time to think about, we're going to have all these people in different areas. How are we going to get all of it?
Mhm.
Outside the box, and they nailed it. And that was their first time, I believe. That was the first investigation they did with the Global Ghost Hunt. So huge shout out to Abyss Paranormal and Vicky and her team.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's one thing you were talking about, like getting into coaching. So I coach content creators. I was a business coach in the investigative world for a while.
Mhm.
But when it comes to content creators, whether I'm talking to writers or podcasters who are starting out, the biggest thing that you can do is take time with your content to make sure that it flows well, to make sure that it's consumable, to make sure that you cross your T's, dot your I's, and that you have something for them. I think a lot of people will show up and just get on camera, and a lot of people do this with their first podcast. They'll just show up, and my coach, or the coach that I follow, he calls it farting into a microphone. They'll just show up and fart into the microphone for an hour and be done. And then there are these shows that rise above, and these are the ones that monetize. These are the ones that draw in a bigger crowd. You take time and take care with your content. So like on my content, I'll record an hour, and then it takes me maybe sometimes 3 hours to edit it, depending on if there's anything wrong with the audio.
Yeah.
But you go back through, and I'm listening to what I'm saying, and if it's not of value, I cut it out. Listen to my guests. If it's not of value, I'll cut it out. If there's a better logical flow, you can mix pieces of the thing around to make it flow better. And that's something like having a camera person going between the teams, having time to be informative and to talk about things, and to be prepared. That goes a long way into connecting with an audience, and
100%.
showing some value and some care for your viewers.
Yeah, 100%. And how many times, and this is personal stuff too, like how many times have we been on investigations when nothing is happening?
Mhm.
Nothing. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Like I'm a tedious man. I don't mind a lot of the brain numbing stuff. Nothing up here to numb, but I don't want to sit and listen and watch a dark room for an hour with nothing going on, and we've said this before. We've said this before on the shows. If you're going to be live, if you're going to be in front of a camera, whether it's a podcast, investigation, have some fun.
Mhm.
Be entertaining, have some fun. Again, Benhurst, that wasn't live when it aired on Global Ghost Hunt. I still was talking just like I would be on the air.
Mhm.
It annoyed the living hell out of the Wicked Queen, but she literally goes, "Who are you talking to?" I go, "The audience." She goes, "We're not live." No shit. If you guys would have seen some of the things I've cut out of that video, which by the way, I don't know if you saw it, brother. Everyone's favorite so far is the very end when she calls me a bitch.
I haven't seen the very end of it. I'll have to go back and
you have. That is so little tangent because that never happens on my show. So I'm sitting here going through the one thing I hate, going through all my videos, and I'm getting clips of some of my favorite times, and not even with evidence, just my favorite times. My favorite times during the investigation, which ones were funny, which ones showcased the beauty of Benhurst, showcased the Wicked Queen, because that was my main thought. I wanted to showcase her, because I know you guys get tired of me, and I know I do. And I couldn't figure out a way I wanted to end the show, or that video. I didn't know how I wanted to end it. So at the very end of the night, we were with an amazing group of investigators, but one of them in particular is our brother Scotty. And Scotty's a great guy. I love him to death. Funny, energetic, always a great time. I couldn't leave without saying goodbye to him. This is like 3-4 in the morning. We were cold, tired. We still had to drive back home. So I wanted to go say goodbye. And sure as shit, we get down in the basement. Scotty and I started interacting. Funny stuff happened. I got scratched. Obviously, I can't walk away from that. As an investigator, you know as well as I do, you cannot walk away from something like that. So I started investigating, turn the camera on, start recording, doing all this stuff. All of a sudden, the Wicked Queen comes down. She goes, "Are you investigating down here without me?" I was like, "I got scratched." She goes, "I don't care." I'm like, but I got scratched. And she goes, "Ya bitch." That's how I ended the video. I love her.
Oh, that's awesome.
But anyway, so this coaching. So obviously it's more the mentorship side. It's not like a soccer coach or a baseball coach.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. Let's start off with when did you feel like you wanted to get started in coaching people?
Well, coming out of being an investigator, I got into personal training and I really liked coaching. And that's where I went through like my fitness journey, started competing in CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting, really started learning a lot, got certified as a trainer and a coach. And I started training people for that. And I saw a lot of carryover. So like I hired coaches, I hired business coaches for my businesses. I hired coaches for my training business. I hired coaches for podcasting to learn how to do this. I took courses and hired coaches for writing and learning how to do that when I got into it. So it was always something that was on my mind because I'm a good coach. I was able to get great results for my clients. They're the ones doing the work. I just kind of provide the plan and the way to do it. So when it got into coaching for content and got back into doing more business coaching, I took those skills that I learned as a personal trainer and that level of detail and patience, and I brought that over into helping people grow because there was a thing that I ran into with personal training, and there was a lot of people that needed help that couldn't afford it. Like it's expensive. Even with the online training, I still do some online personal training. It's depending on the package, usually between $300 and $600 a month. A lot of people can't afford that. So I started looking more into, okay, well, let's help people with their finances. Let's help business owners make more money. Let's help content creators monetize and do more. And it just kind of rolled from there. I've helped 5 authors now get their books published and get their stories out. I've helped a bunch of people finish their books. I've helped people launch podcasts. Running a business and getting into working with, I worked for a business coaching company as their community growth manager. My job was to basically manage the content, manage the communications, make sure that everything was running smoothly and the community was engaged and growing so that we had a pool to get clientele from. And I took everything there, all the stuff that I got from digital marketing, the certifications and stuff I did for digital marketing for running a business, and was like, I know 2 + 2 = 4. I know on the marketing side, if A and B are going to equal C, if we come up with great content, do the research properly, hit the market at the right way, the right time, and there's a audience for everything.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if you are writing werewolf leprechaun romances or you have a
hold on, I gotta write that one down. Book 2
podcast about episode 1 of Truly Odd is going to be about Mothman's shiny ass.
I remember you telling me about that.
So
I
like
still say that makes some great merch, just saying.
Yes. No, there's t-shirts, mugs. It's a real shiny butt.
Ooh, mug. Mothman's face on the front and on the back an actual ass, but have it like mirrored.
Yes. Oh, that'd be hilarious. But like there's an audience for everything. Like there's enough of an audience to monetize both of those if you use the right strategy. When it comes to writing books, you're probably going to want to go KU. Kindle Unlimited, you're going to want to go exclusive to Amazon because that's where you're probably going to find that niche. Yeah. If you are doing a podcast, you're probably going to want merch because you're going to have content that is heavily marketable that way to monetize it. And you're probably going to want to have sponsorships are going to be hard to come by. But if you play it right and you are funny enough with it, you could attract a mass audience. And if you can get up to between 400 and 2,000 downloads per episode, you can monetize at least enough to stop going out of pocket on your hosting. So it's like it's little things like that. It's okay. Well, let's look at your podcast. Okay, so your content sounds good. We're going to launch a podcast. Now I'll go through the launch plan on this because this is what I do with podcast help. Okay, so you want to do a podcast. Let's research it and see if it's something you actually want to talk about. Because if you're doing something with content creation, you're not going to make money for a very long time. You have to have a backlist. Even if you're writing, if podcasting, whatever, it takes a while to build a backlist to be able to monetize it. So you're gonna have to enjoy it and just get joy out of doing it.
Yep.
So okay, so we've got that. Okay, so let's look at other podcasts in that niche that have big followings and are doing well. Let's listen to them and know them intimately. What is their format like? Who are they communicating with? What are their sponsors? Is it auto ads or is it host read ads? What can we find out about their listenership? What are their chart ratings on Amazon or not Amazon? The books again. What are their chart ratings on Spotify and Apple? So you go through and do this breakdown on everybody who's kind of in your niche. Okay, what do you like about those shows and what are you going to enjoy doing? And you're going to emulate that to attract that audience. Cool. So you're emulating that. How do you innovate it and make it your own so you're not just another copycat show? Because that's where people get lost. They forget to innovate. So they end up just getting lost in the sea of 1,000 shows that are the same. So what's the voice that's going to be different? What's the viewpoint that's going to be different? Because like everybody's talked about Mothman. A lot of people have talked about the shiny butt on the statue. What's the unique viewpoint, the unique angle that's going to make people want to listen specifically to your podcast? What are the details that maybe are being glanced over on true crime cases or whatever you're talking about that you can bring to light so that you're giving people something unique? Cool. You've got that. Do you want to do it? Can you enjoy putting this out week after week and if you're doing a podcast and you are doing it to monetize, you're working at least 10 hours a week on the podcast.
Yep.
At least, really probably more like 20, depending on your audio setup. How much money do you have to put in your microphone? If you don't have a lot of money for the front end of the recording, you're going to be spending more time on the back end. So if you don't have noise gates, if you don't have, if you can't get a Rode Podcaster Duo right now, like this is a USB going straight into a computer. Yep. That means I'm spending probably 45 more minutes going through and playing with the denoise to take hisses out of my audio, which I did today for 45 minutes. So you're going to have to pick what you like, where you want to spend money, where you can spend money that makes sense, and then be consistent. And the big thing here, this is where everybody gets lost, is being consistent. This is where a coach comes in and a community comes in, because they're all out there doing it. And you're going to have to answer for, I didn't put a podcast episode out there this week. And it's not just not going into Libsyn and checking your download numbers. It's, my coach might yell at me. I'm going to look bad in front of all these other guys that are out there like putting the work in. And you're going to have to do this for on average 3 years before you monetize. It can happen faster, but 3 years is about average.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, because every week that I don't do a show, even when I'm on my sabbaticals and I take a break, I feel guilty as hell. I'm like, I miss it. I miss the community. And it's like, I'm letting my Parapost family down. Speaking of my family, there's our brother, Jonathan Myers from Crossover Paranormal Society. He's another good one, guys. I spoke about Abyss, but Jonathan's another good one. Jonathan just has this good old boy feeling about him. I mean, you're from, you know what I'm talking about. A good old boy. That's my brother here, Jonathan Myers. I'd love listening to him. I could listen to him for hours too. Even his baseball cards. You might think of baseball cards. He'll make it interesting. You can hear the passion in his voice, and I love listening to him. So go check him out, Crossover Paranormal Society. And I want to just take a side note, guys. If you are commenting, we're not seeing it. Yep. Tanner will attest to this. We're not seeing it. So if we're not responding to your messages or your comments, sorry, we don't see them. I actually have one of the problem children. Actually, I don't know why, but my main profile on Facebook, I actually have that up and running on my phone. So I'm trying to pay attention to that side too. But if you're commenting and we don't see it or we don't acknowledge you, it's not intentional. I promise you. But no, Tanner, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said about, when you're starting out, having that passion for it, because we've spoke about it a couple times. This does take money. What we do takes a lot of money to get going. I mean, I got $20,000 of equipment on my desk right now. not including the streaming service, not including everything else that I have, the licenses. You have to have that passion for it. And, if I could break even, make some money out of it, great. You have to be driven by money, but money shouldn't be the driving purpose, if that makes sense, folks. Um, I do feel guilty. I feel guilty whenever I don't do a show. I miss, and that's what keeps bringing me back. When I take these breaks or I say, I'm done, F this, I'm done. That's what brings me back, is the people and the passion. And honestly, it becomes like therapy. I know it's weird to say, but until you're on this side of the camera, you'll understand. When we're hosting and you see the same people come in all the time, like the Joannes, the Vickies, the Jonathans, Raymond even. I had to take my shot, Raymond. I haven't seen you in a while or talked to you in a while. So I had to take my shot. But you start building that community up. You miss it. You miss the people. You miss having fun. And you remember why you do this. And you can tell. You can tell 100% in voices who has a passion for what they're doing and who doesn't. So, that's pretty cool. So I wanted to ask you, as a coach, we'll throw all this together. So as a podcasting coach, we'll start with that. Someone wants to start out. Let's say they got the equipment, just bare basics. They got the basic StreamYard package. I think it's $25. They got Canva. They've got whatever for their thumbnails. They have a topic or they subject for their show. Where do they go from here? What would be your advice?
Well, with StreamYard, this is a live stream. Live streams and podcasts are different.
Yep.
What I would say, you've got the equipment together, you've got a place to record. If you're recording, like I use StreamYard currently for recording my interviews with podcast guests. I'm about to upgrade my hosting with Libsyn, and that's going to have Libsyn Connect. It's audio only, so it'll be a phone call. That'll be a little bit of adjustment for me, but the audio quality is a ton better, and it's more reliable. I've had some problems with recording podcasts, doing just the recording, not going live. Going live's worked out really well. But just doing the recording for podcasting, I've had some problems with this, so I'm going over to Libsyn Connect for that. If you have that, you need a topic. You need to spend some time on it, record and practice recording. Like, get on here on StreamYard, hit the record button, and just record a show. Download that audio. You're going to need to download some sort of system so that you can edit your podcast. Audacity is free. It is a beast, and there's a learning curve with it. But Audacity is free, and it does a lot. I've been able to do more in Audacity than I have in most outside of Adobe. Adobe is king. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Outside of Adobe, I've been able to do more in Audacity with a few plugins than I have with any other system. Now, I record my vocals so that I get the best recording possible straight into my computer into WavePad. Just because I have a little bit more control over the recording quality there. That's $50 to $100 a year for the license. And then I do my edits. You're going to want to record a show and send it out to people that you trust. So I would get a free Dropbox account and record a couple episodes, send those episodes out to friends or people that listen to that genre, and get their feedback and listen to it and really listen to it and be like, okay, so I lost them here. I screwed up on this. Go back and record a better episode. Your first 30 episodes are not going to be your best. Okay. It's just how it works. If you were on a tight budget, if you were on a tight budget, you can go to Spotify for podcasters and you can get a free RSS feed. Or I believe RSS.com has a free RSS, but it's a bit simpler at Spotify. I don't like free hosting. I had free hosting. I started out with a free host. I don't like it because they tend to go out of business. Or if you look in the licensing agreements, you are allowing them to create derivative properties from your IP, which is something that I don't like. For $5, you can get set up $5 a month on Libsyn. You own your RSS feed, and you can take that thing and port it anywhere. You're going to want to set up somewhere that has a 301 redirect, so that you can move your podcast if you do decide to. One of the reasons that I took all of my shows away from Spotify is I stopped being able to use that redirect, and I had to call support to get them to do it. And as soon as that happened, I didn't trust it. I moved the properties that I was keeping open. I moved all of those over to Libsyn. So you're going to need hosting for your RSS feed. I recommend Libsyn just because I love working with them. Do your own research. Blueberry is a good one. RSS.com is a good one. I think one of the originals.
Yeah.
Libsyn and RSS.com are like the two oldest. They've been in it for a long time. And then you're going to need cover art. So you got Canva. You're going to need to make a 3000 by 3000 pixel cover image for your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
If you curse, if you talk about adult issues, you're going to need to set it up as explicit. But you're going to just put your show out there. And when you put your show out there, whatever platform you do, when you send it to Apple, this is probably the most important for making your show better. Opt into manually submitting your show to Apple, and you'll do that through the Apple Connect dashboard. You'll have access to your Apple stats, your deep Apple stats. What that's going to show you is where people stop listening. And so after 30 or 40 episodes, you're going to have enough data in there, and hopefully you've got enough listeners that you can go in and you can see, okay, so on most of my episodes, people are only getting to 40% through. So what's going on? Or you'll see one episode, like most of my shows, I only have the one going now, and then Truly Odd Studios is going, or Truly Odd Podcast starts next month with Killer Pros. Yeah. With Killer Pros, I have a 90 to a 95% listen rate on all of the episodes. So I don't lose people at weird places anymore. I did when I first started. So what I would do is I would go and I'm like, okay, so I noticed on this episode, a ton of people stopped listening at the 11-minute mark. What did I do? So I'll get through and I'd listen. I'm like, okay, so I'm starting to ramble. I need to cut that out.
Well, there's all my show.
Or I would hit into topic or get off on something. I'm like, okay, they don't want me on tangents. I got to stop doing that and cutting those out.
Yeah.
And some people like tangents. So it's going to vary from show to show as to what's doing it, but that's going to allow you to look and see, okay, when I fix these things on Killer Pros, once I fix those issues, that's where I got to 90%. You are doing good at 70. You are killing it at 80. You are phenomenal at 90. And because they're also going to be listening to your sponsors once they're on there. Your listenership is super important. Keep track of how many people you're growing by, how fast you're growing, so that you can make a plan to monetize. You have some control over that, but really it just gives you an estimate on, okay, it's going to take me a year and a half. It's going to take me 2 years. Where was I going with that? The people that are listening, your numbers versus the people that are listening all the way through, the people that are engaging with you on social media, and how many emails you're getting. That's going to give you your engagement rates.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what sponsors want. Big numbers are great. You have 20 million people at every episode listening to your show. That's phenomenal. Obviously, we're gonna advertise with you.
Of course.
Oh, you have 12,000 people each episode. Well, why do I want to advertise with you? Well, out of those 12,000, we have a 90% through rate on all the episodes. We get X number of emails every week. Our newsletter gets X number of our open rate on our newsletter is X. We have this many people on YouTube, and this is the rate that our affiliate links get clicked. And so you can take that and they can see, oh, you have a super engaged audience. You have a lot of influence over these people. You're probably going to push a lot of my product. But we're getting into monetization and stuff. That's down the road. Well, starting out, just practice.
Well, I want to hit on something you said, and I just kind of want to break things down for people. When you were talking about these licensing and everything else, you said it around, $50 to $100 a year. A lot of people may go, ooh, that's, $100. Break it down.
Yep.
Let's just make it real simple. $120 a year for your license. That's not bad. $10 a month. That's what it boils down to. And one thing that Tanner said that I really enjoy, and I've done shop around.
Mhm.
Don't just go Google search, first one, click, done. No, find the one that works best for you. I've been through a couple different hosting sites like StreamYard. This StreamYard works for me.
Mhm.
I like StreamYard. It's simple. The people on the back end, the customer support, very good, and it fits with what I'm doing. Like Tanner said, the recording side of it. I've tried the recording. It's okay. It's not great, but it's not bad either.
Mhm.
And yes, I've had issues with like Facebook and stuff like that interacting with StreamYard, but it still works for me. Find something that works for you, that you're comfortable with, that you're competent with. And even with the learning curve, like I gave, if you guys know Aaron Hoffman, Shadow, I gave him, he kept trying to pull me to Wondershare, Wondershare. I was like, no, I'm just going to use Canva. I'm going to use Canva for my videos and blah, blah, blah. Looked at Wondershare. I'm like, oh, hell no. He taught me. Once you learn it, you get more comfortable. Like OBS, screw that shit. I've tried that.
God, dude.
I've tried.
OBS,
I've tried that shit so many times, and I went cross-eyed every time. I was like,
you can do amazing things with it, and it looks better than this. It does. If you know what you're doing, and you have 2 40-hour work weeks to spend on learning how to get that damn thing to work right, because it was made for people who make movies. It was made for people who work at news stations. It is not user friendly.
I mean, I believe Aaron. I love it. I love him to death. I believe it's easy once you get it going, because Phil Morrow was the same way with me. StreamYard is the same way. Hell, even Canva. Canva is like color by numbers, but I still love it. So don't get me wrong. Canva, for some reason you're watching, I still love your product, but OBS makes me feel like an idiot. I have no idea what I'm doing. I distinctly remember he was trying to walk me through it, and I was following his steps, step by step by step by step. What mine was doing was completely different than what his was doing, and I know that because he was showing me, and I'm like, why do I have shit on here that it's not even on my screen?
Well, it's the hardware too, man. It's not just that software. It's very sophisticated, and the hardware that you have affects the final product and what it's able to do. It is a wonderful system if you take the time to learn how to do it, like a lot of the other systems. Hindenburg is one of those that's an editing system that's used by NPR and a lot of news outlets and stuff. Beautiful, wonderful system that you can do amazing things with. Adobe's easier. At the end of the day, the AI tools in there make it sound better. It's where to go. Audacity, nowhere near as complicated as OBS, but I am still finding new features and stuff in there that clean up audio.
I've used Audacity. Here's how long I've been using it: since I started in the paranormal field. So at least 20 years. I even, like, when I got back into the field, when I had my little break from team to consultant, when I got back into it, there was so many new features on it. I just went, where's my old stuff? Because I remember the little sound bars and little spikies. Now it's like, it looks like somebody on, meth. But it's great. It's a great product. It works very well, and it does what it needs to do. Let's go to the coaching for the writers. I know you've helped me out immensely. You like I said, you were the one. And actually, I don't know if have I ever shown you, not to get off topic, tangent, my show. Have I ever shown you the book cover? Just curious. Okay, so I did come up with a book cover. That was one of the first things I created. I don't know why, but that's why I wanted to start. And for those of you who don't know, my book that's going to be coming out at some point is called The Paranormal Truth. And there is the cover for it. I'm probably going to change it given the logo. But it's basically going to be a paranormal how-to. That's going to book of consulting. Anybody will be able to pick this book up and investigate the paranormal with competence. And I'm not saying I'm the ultimate guru of the paranormal, but it's like investigating for dummies type thing.
That's one of those, like, you're going to be really tempted to just put it on KDP because it's super, super easy and it's going to put it out to Amazon. But that topic and what you're doing with Covert Investigator, that was my old podcast, Paranormal Consultant. I think it would do better on wider distribution, like Barnes Noble. It has a chance as a local author, especially a spiritual book, local author, actually making it onto bookshelves, and that's a really good looking cover. Also, if you go wide, go to Draft Digital, they're going to have distribution through Ingram. That's going to make sense way down the road. But you're going to get way better quality books and prints from that.
See, this is firsthand experience, folks. You see why I love hanging out with Tanner. I'm always learning something. Obviously a great guy, but I'm always learning something with him. And again, networking in action. Yes, look at this. Network. Eventually it will come out, but yeah, and that's something else too. I don't know if it's just like these shows, but even with the books or this book, The Paranormal Truth, I know what I want the end result to be, and none of it's monetary.
Mm-hmm.
And basic, quick version, because there really is no story to it, so there's no real spoilers. It's basically going to be a step-by-step on investigating equipment, starting out, techniques that I found that work for me, camera angles that work for me, and I'm going to have like little diagrams in there too. So there will be pictures for people, but basically anybody's going to be able to pick this book up and go chapter 1, find the location. What goes through? What are the steps? What are the best ways to find a location? Once you get to the location, what are the next steps? What are the next steps? And it's going to be a step-by-step on investigating. And obviously there will be some things that will be open-ended because, as we all know, each investigation is different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically going to be something to where anybody can just go out, have fun, enjoy the paranormal, and be competent with it. But yeah, no, I already know the end result, and I already know what I want to do with this. But yeah, I did think about monetizing it, but I never thought about the broader spectrum. To me, I was just going to put it on like Amazon or Kindle or, something along those lines, just to kind of get it out there.
Discoverability is a big one on that. So if you write a book, you want people to read it. It's not the monetary thing. And this is like your first book, your first 3 books. I was on a conference call earlier today with a guy named Nick Thatcher. He's a author of 40 books. He's a USA Today bestselling author, and he came from marketing, and he helps marketing books. So like I got an hour of picking his brain on stuff. It was awesome. So when it comes to your end product, like my book, the book that's coming out this year, I don't expect to be in the black on that. I expect to lose money on it. I expect to lose money on the first 3 books and not really make anything in the black. And I'm talking about maybe bringing in 10K, maybe 10K for annual sales until book 4. But I'm doing this as a career for the writing to be the actual product and the business. With a book like yours, you're wanting to get it out there. You're wanting people to read it. So sales are going to come from wanting people to read it. But you want it to be discovered. A book like that, just putting it up on Amazon, it gets lost. The algorithm won't show it. So the more stores that you're in, especially if you can get physical copies of that book with that cover, because that cover looks pretty cool, and get it polished a bit, and get that into actual stores, you'll have more sales, which means it's a money thing. Yeah, but you'll affect more people.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to take that and put it back into the consultancy or put it back into producing more books, more resources. And this is the big thing with coaching. And this is why I really want to teach creative writing and coach, be a book coach and teach creative writing. There's a business side of it that makes us feel gross when we first start. And the reason we feel gross is because we don't understand that it takes money to have influence. It takes money to have an impact. And the resources that you get from selling that book, which obviously is of value with your knowledge of 20 years in the field and your attitude and the unique perspectives and kind of the funny entertainment side of the book that I'm sure is going to be in there with anecdotes and things. Writing a book's a big deal. It takes a lot of resources. It takes a lot of time. Yes, you should be compensated for it, but you'll make on average probably $2, maybe $3 per book that sells.
No.
But if you sell 3,000 books, that's $3,000 before tax.
Yeah.
And that's factoring in printing. That's factoring in, style. You're probably at 3,000 books going to break even for what you spend on editing the book.
Yeah.
But you're able to take that and then put it toward another book, or put it toward easing financial burdens so that you can be in the field more. It's all about, there's a concept, and it's a Hebrew concept. It's taught by this rabbi who is um I can't remember his name or what it's called, but basically it's teaching business owners to live on more than they make, and businesses to survive on more than they make so that they can be generous. It's built on the principle of filling up a cup with wine until it overflows into a saucer, because your cup has to be filled up first.
Yeah.
If your cup gets too big, it's never going to fill up. So you have to keep your life in a way that you can continue to grow your business and make more and more revenue, and make more and more resources, so that that cup fills and then spills into everything around it. So you're filling up everybody else's cup, and you're giving back to society, and you're doing the things that really make you happy, because you're managing your lifestyle, and you're managing the resources that are coming in from that book, and using that and putting that towards something that makes the field better, something that makes people better, something that makes the world around you better.
You know, I think I just figured out my problem. My cup has a hole in it. Anyway, but no, that's really cool. And by the way, folks, no Jewish jokes, please. I know where that was going, because my mind went there. No Jewish
We
jokes.
will get canceled.
Yes. Maybe some people will think that's a good thing with me. But anyway, we are already at an hour and a half. And this is, again, one thing I love chatting with you, brother. But I will say it is always a lot of fun. Always a lot of fun just hanging out and chatting with you. I always learn something. Today I've learned a couple of things that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to try. I will promise you I will try. I will attempt it. But if anybody wants to check out what you're up to and what's going on, where can they find you, brother?
Yeah, you can head over, and I can put this in the comments if that's cool.
Yeah, by all means.
I am looking for beta readers, so I have a book that I'm looking to get ready and get published this year. The first step after I finish all my edits is a beta read. I send that out to people. If you read cozy mysteries, if you like murder mysteries, hit me up at killerpinbooks@gmail.com to get on my ARC list as a beta reader. An ARC is an advanced reader copy. You'll get an ebook download so that you can go through, read it, give me feedback on the book. Please give me feedback on the book. That's the entire reason I'm sending it to you, and keep it close. Do not share it out. There's some paperwork and stuff that goes along with that. You can also connect with me on the website at killerpros.com. I'm typing that in right now. And at killerpros.com, if you go down to the bottom of the screen, there's a little icon with a microphone in it. All you got to do is click on that. You can leave me a voicemail to have questions answered on the show, or to just tell me if you are working on something. Oh, yeah. Paranormal Consultant is not posting anything.
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what it is.
But yeah, if you go to killerpros.com, you can interact with me there. If you're interested in ARC, or you're interested in writing or anything, you can fill out the contact page. That's where most people send their questions in.
Okay. Killer Pros. Let's see if I can do it. Killerpros.com.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to have information and links to all the live writing sessions that I'm doing on YouTube. Oh, yep. Those went up on YouTube and on Twitch. And then let's see. Oh, yeah. If you're podcasting, which I think most of you on this network are, you can hit the Podcaster Help Desk every Saturday at 2 p.m. here on Parapost Network.
And speaking of which, I don't know. Everything went to everywhere but Parapost. Yeah, we're on Parapost.
We're on Parapost, yeah. Yeah, it went up everywhere when you did it. For some reason, it didn't when I did it. There's this weird thing. They updated and added a webinar thing to StreamYard for you guys using StreamYard, you know. And every time there's an update on a big platform, it breaks something.
Yeah, it's not always my fault, folks. But I want to say, brother, it is always a lot of fun hanging out with you. I do appreciate your time. I know you're busy. And also, I said this a couple of times before, but I want to say to you, huge congrats to you, especially with the health side. I've seen your growth, or actually your subtraction, and amazing job. Keep up the great work. You look great. Absolutely look great. And there was something else I wanted to say, and my brain just went, "No, you're done." But definitely I appreciate everything you do, brother. And oh, I know what it was. So I'll make this promise to you live that when my book is done, I'm giving you a copy. I will be giving
thank
you
you.
personally a copy, and I'll sign it too. It might not be worth much, but I'll sign it. Maybe we'll
When
meet
mine
up and
comes out, I have definitely sent you over a copy. You'll be one of the, I think, 5 people on the 6 new editor who actually know my pen name.
there you go. I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do. My book comes out. Your book comes out. We'll meet up. We'll have some of that Tennessee whiskey that you promised me, and we'll just sit and relax and just chill. How's that?
Sounds great.
I'll come to you this time so you don't have to send it and get all weird. But anyway, thank you, brother, again so much for hanging out with me tonight. And thank you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. You guys are amazing. And honestly, without you guys, this wouldn't be as fun. This wouldn't be as fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my guests, love my brother over here. I love everybody that comes on, but as Tanner will attest to it too, the audience is what makes this a lot of fun. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. And again, please go check out globalghosthunt.com, Parapost Network Central on Facebook, and of course, our awesome sponsors over at Health Empowers You at healthempowersyou.net. Excuse me. And don't forget to use code. Don't forget to use the code PC05 for even a better deal. And it just shows that you're just supporting not just me, but Health Empowers You. You guys will not regret it. So thank you all so much for watching. And you might want to subscribe and follow and turn those notifications on, because there might be a little teaser, might be a announcement coming out this weekend.
Ooh.
Maybe a new show. Maybe. You won't. Yeah, I'm done.
Dude, thanks for having me on, man. Everybody,
hey,
thanks for listening.
There, what he said. All right. So I guess there's only one thing left for me to say. Y'all have yourselves a great rest of your night. Stay safe, stay alive. And as always, folks, happy hauntings.